Aloha and welcome to another tutorial. I am Unit E, and in this one we're going to look at the Roland Verselab. We're going to take a peek at one of the pad modes here called Style. I think it's an often underused and underappreciated mode that really brings out the depth that this machine is capable of. So let's take a quick look. One thing to know about Style mode that is most important is that it performs differently on the tracks up here in the drum track row as it does these three tracks here in the melodic track row. Up here in the drum track row, whether you have a tone track or a drum track, up here you can see if I have a drum track and I select my snare, go to Style, I get these different kinds of rhythmic repeats or rolls. This also happens if I choose a tone track. Right? All these different rhythmic rolls, but it's only one note. Not really an arpeggiator or very stylistic for tone tracks. Down here on a melodic track, it behaves differently. You'll also see the pads in Style mode turn a light purple instead of this light blue. Same instrument now. When I hit this, this will give me a different style or an arpeggiation. Okay? Right? And it could be many, many different things than just these 16 now. Because in the drum tracks, it doesn't change. But when we go to edit our style, we can see we have a few things here. There's 128 actual styles. And within each style, there's at least 5 different variations of that style. Now, when I say style, I mean like an arpeggiation style or a rhythmic playing of the chord or notes that you're holding. And this is more than just a kind of beat-driven rhythm. This becomes more of a musical phrasing, okay, with these styles. We're going to look at a few things within the arpeggiations that's going to affect these different styles and these different ways. Here's your variations. Your motif has all your classics, your up, correct? Up and down, random, note order, glissando, chord. When you do chord, when you hold a chord or whatever notes you hold, those will all arpeggiate together and do whatever style arpeggiation is being played. Now, all these different motifs have to be played using your your fingers playing the notes. You can hear it go up. It's doing a little different rhythmic. That's because it's one of the styles. It's a style. We'll look at that. But it is still going up in the note order. Okay? Down in the note order when you play it. In a stylistic kind of way. Right? And again, we're going to not go through all these, but now it'll do up and down in the notes in that stylisticness. Random becomes a little more musical now with the stylistic arpeggiation. It's not in any order. It is random, but it does have now a kind of musical phrasing to it. Note order, we'll do it in the order that you press the notes. Glissando, you press the first and last one, and it'll play every semitone in between, up and all the way down. A chord, like I said, plays all the notes in the chord at the same time. Auto does an arpeggiation up and down while focusing mainly on the lowest note that is held. Auto 2 focuses on the highest note. Then you have phrase. This is where it gets a lot more interesting because it only requires one note press and it plays a musical phrase based off that one note. Let's keep it here on motif, on phrase. Okay, looking at the other things you can hold, you could choose the velocity for your arpeggiation to be all consistent, or real is really nice. It gives a very good, more humanistic feel. Your octave ranges become important. This is once it plays through the arpeggiation sequence. If you have anything other than 0 on octave range, it will either go up octaves or down octaves to play the next octave with that arpeggiation range. Let's just do 0 for now so you can see what we are dealing with. The accent rate, the higher the number is, 100 being the highest, the more accents and note length variety you get. Then if you were to dial this down, all your note lengths in your arpeggiation would become more consistent in the same, and your velocities would become more consistently the same. You wouldn't get much dynamics. Keep this up high if you want more dynamics. You can shuffle, and you can have the resolution of your shuffle. Turn chord mode on in this menu if you want to go to chord mode over here with shift style to where you have your chords that you've made, and then when you press a chord, it will arpeggiate that chord, making it simple for you to play the proper chords and arpeggiate the proper notes using the pads. Moving on. I want to keep it back here at style and variation because we're going to take a look at this in a moment. But for now, let's see how we can find out what each of these styles are, because it doesn't tell us here. And the book doesn't tell us either. So let's exit out of that and then hold style and turn our value knob. Now we go through these ARP styles and you start seeing this other stuff here like EG, AG. Let's keep going. We'll hold shift to go faster. These are the 128. You have rhythm. You have 16 drive. So these are like 16th note arpeggiations. Remember, phrase makes a musical phrase based off of one note I play. So it's making a little like... Usually it's jumping around in the octaves. But that's just a 16th note, kind of a sync 2-4. I'm not exactly sure on all the fine points of these ARP styles. I'm trying to get more information on those. But beyond these basic ones that you find in the early numbers, once you get up into the 40s, high 40s, you start getting rhythm on 46. Now this is a rhythmic, not such a standard 8th note or 16th note pattern. This becomes more rhythmic and more musical phrasing. So let's just hear one of these. A little more musical, okay? Something that jumps, look, just going right to rhythm 2. Listen to the change here. Now remember, each of these rhythms packs also have variations up here, as you see, 47, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They usually have about 5 each. You can dive further into them, and we'll look a little further than the 5 to see if there's any more. Again, different rhythm 3. Right? So it's just doing these rhythms. Let's keep moving beyond rhythm. We know we have these rhythm ones. Cycles are just kind of rhythmic. You're doing thirds. So it just sits there and arpeggiates between the root and a third. Keep moving. Fourths, fifths, majors, minor phrasing, cycling major and minor phrases. Okay, these are just cyclic. Okay. As you can tell, we're not going to spend a lot of time there. Then you get into ones that now start getting a little more definitive. Besides just being cyclic and kind of rhythmic, they're going to get you a little more definitive. This one being acoustic guitar, AG, acoustic guitar. This is progressions and phrase 1. So let's hear the first. We have an acoustic guitar here, normal note mode. Now our first one. All right. But it's doing something. So let's try the next one, progress 2. Let's hear how different this one sounds. This is just a different acoustic guitar progression. Okay, you can even drop down your octaves. Let's hear it. So you can hear these additional grace notes and these other notes accompanying the arpeggiation. Much more musical phrasing. And again, this is just in progress 2, so let's hear a different variation, 61-2. So much different than number 1. Now, say you found the progression you liked and you want to kind of play around with the variations and didn't want to keep holding style. That's okay. If you edit the style now, you're in that style 61, which was that progression 2, right? If I go to variations, here's my different variations now. I go 2. Variation 3. Again, these are all just a part of style 61. Right? Let's go back and hold style. 61 was progress 2 phrase. These are just little banks and each one has variations. Find the one you like and then go in there and start looking at the variations of each. Once you go into these progressions, now you get into these cutting styles. Right? all these different styles. 3-finger phrases. Getting those 3-finger like strums. Very cool. Get into many different ones. For you singer-songwriters, this is gold here. All right, many 3-finger phrases. Let's keep moving. As you can see, many variations and packs. Acoustic guitar arpeggios. Okay, we're not going to dwell. Let's just move on. I want to keep showing you. Spanish style stuff. You can see this. Right? Bossa Nova things. Now electric guitar. So when you have an electric guitar patch in here, you get some really great electric guitar phrases and cutting riffs and stuff like that. There's cutting, there's riffs, there's overdrive, so you can have your distorted guitar riffs, good electric guitar arpeggiations, and you kind of blues guitar phrases. Right? And this all depends on a lot of things. Bass phrases. Now this gets even guitar trill. Bass, you could do bass guitar, or maybe you want a different bass, but these are some classic, very reliable bass phrases. Very fast. Of course, we don't want always fast. Bass shuffle. Right? And moving on. Fretless bass stuff, walking bass, ballad bass, electric piano. Now you got your Rhodes, progressions, Latin piano stuff, funky clav phrases, different ones, synth leads, dance synth phrases, harp phrases. Sounds much better when you put a harp or harp sound to it, string stuff, right? Harp phrases, synth bass phrases. Now if you wanted to get some more of your electronic sounding synth bass lines, this is where you might start, right? Many to use. Synth lines if you need some nice lead lines. Here's your lead lines. Right? Sequences for those nice little sequence sounds that are fun to put in there, those little robotic bleeps and bloops. Chord phrases. Shorties, which are nice, short, plucky stuff, right? And then fatties will be going to definitely sound a bit different depending on what you're using, of course. So always experiment with your tones. And then a combination, short fats, mixtures, combinations. These get into more complex styles of arps. So there you go, tons of different sounds, Latin piano sounds. How can you go wrong? That's style mode for you. Remember, stay down here in melodic tracks, and I'm going to give you one last final tip about this. Go ahead and take this, run a MIDI output to your other Groovebox. I, for instance, have the MC707 hooked up to this track, so I can take these style arpeggiations and go ahead and play them and record them to my other Groovebox or other machine or other sequencer, or even into your DAW, and record them that way through MIDI. So let me just raise up something else, another guitar on my 707. And you can hear when I play this one now. That's my 707 playing, now being controlled by the Verselab. Even a nice synth sound can sound right. Here's a nice little right. So these ARP styles are great for everything. Use it in your studio, not only for itself, which is great to really get ideas fleshed out and bang out a song quicker than ever, but also to help support maybe your other machines that don't quite have the arpeggiation power and stylistics of the Verselab. I know this is a bit long, but I wanted to get it all out there. I hope you got some good information from here and it wasn't too much too quick. I do appreciate you watching. Thank you. Have a great day. Aloha.